Hello and welcome to NewsClick. Two developments in recent times have considerable significance for India-Pakistan relations. One, the ongoing military offensive by the Pakistani armed forces against the Pakistani Taliban. And two, the recent meeting between the Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan and a joint statement issued by them at Sharm Al Sheikh on the sidelines of the NAM summit. Seema, let me start with the joint statement, which has stirred a hornet's nest, certainly in India. The delinking of the composite dialogue from anti-terrorism steps by Pakistan has been hailed in Pakistan as a victory and is being seen in India as a climb down. And of course, the mention of Balochistan in the joint statement has been greeted in Pakistan as a vindication of their position that India is meddling in Pakistan and that there should be some kind of a quid pro quo between India stopping its meddling in Balochistan and Pakistan support for cross-border terrorism in India. How do you view this joint statement?
Well, as you know, Raghu, I am totally for peace with India and Pakistan, and I think that should continue at all costs. But the point is that I think this statement has been disastrous on two fronts. One, in delinking in black and white terrorism from composite dialogue. You don't have to, when you know that the right wing here is going to react to it, there is no need to put that in a statement. You can continue with the composite dialogue. You should have never stopped it. You should have continued with it, saying it's a routine, and people would have accepted it. But the minute you put it down in black and white in those many words, in a flip-flop policy, when the Prime Minister went to Russia, he said one thing with Zardari. When he came to Sharm El Sheikh, within the span of weeks, he said something entirely opposite. So obviously you're giving a handle to the opposition to raise the issue. And that does a great deal of damage to the peace movement in the long run.
Right.
And on Balochistan, quickly, I think Baloch struggle has been the most secular struggle in Pakistan, which the Pakistan establishment has always tried to crush. In fact, gunships were used against the Baloch long before they were used against the Taliban. And the Pakistanis have always been trying to say that the Baloch struggle is not a real struggle, but supported and engineered by the Indian establishment and our intelligence agencies. Now, by the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, I don't know what was in his mind, whether it was ignorance or whether it was deviousness, but he signs this agreement, which is actually confirming the Pakistani establishment's allegation.
Because in any joint statement between India and Pakistan, whatever the motivations which the Prime Minister now claims, any mention of Balochistan in the India-Pakistan context obviously involves India in an internal issue of Pakistan.
Absolutely, and the manner in which it was said, Gilani says, Prime Minister Gilani talked about Balochistan, threats to Balochistan and other areas, making it very clear that it is the Pakistani allegation which we are now taking note of, and for the first time in 60 years putting it on a document between the two countries. And now they're all backing off, saying this, that, the other.
And in fact, the similar backing off, the flip-flop as you put it, on the composite dialogue, if the intention was to restart the composite dialogue, perhaps this is not the way to do it.
Absolutely.
Because now the government's on the back foot. Now they are saying, no, we don't want to start a dialogue. So in fact, the intention to restart the composite dialogue has received a setback.
Absolutely. And also the composite dialogue was a very beautifully structured dialogue. You had the officials, then you had all the, the various ministries meeting, then you had the foreign secretaries, then you had the ministers, and that was to be always followed by a summit.
Right.
So it was like an annual thing. Now what is happening? They're talking about not having the composite dialogue, but they're having every other dialogue.
Right.
The Prime Ministers met Zardari. The Prime Minister has met the Prime Minister. He is going to meet him again in September when he goes to New York. The foreign ministers are going to meet. The foreign secretaries have been authorized to meet in this statement
as many times as required.
So where is the composite dialogue now?
Apart from, it seems to me to be a little strange that just sheer incompetence was behind this clumsy drafting and so on. Do you think there is also hidden pressure from the US behind this, or is it just our bureaucracy and political leadership which has bungled on this?
I think it's completely American. I think, you know, the timing of it, you're rushing to get a joint statement out before the US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrives here. You are allowing any kind of things to go inside that draft. Bad drafting, I mean, you know, first the foreign secretary is sitting over there who's supposed to be the master. He's there because he's the best drafter, right? And so I don't think it's anything to do with drafting. I think it was a political intention. And the Prime Minister took a call. And I don't think there's any point in blaming bureaucrats. The Prime Minister took a political decision. He was sitting on it. He presided over it. He knew all the words that were written. It was not such a long statement. And we did it to please Hillary Clinton.
We've seen the Pakistan army now going on a fairly serious military offensive against at least the Pakistani Taliban, which seems to have had some impact. There has been some rolling back of the almost daily occurrences of bombings in Islamabad and Lahore and so on. But the Pakistani establishment is now increasingly making demands, both of the US and of India. To the US saying, cut down on your offensive in Afghanistan because it's putting on us, pressure on us, and vis-a-vis India to say, you should withdraw your forces so that so do you see this joint statement and its references to Baluchistan as part of this play which is going on here?
It's a complete give. It's a give on every level. You know, you don't feel that the Indian side has been able to draft a mature, sober statement which takes into account peace. No, it hasn't. And I agree with you completely that it has been exactly pandering to the Pakistani propaganda that, look, we can't help you fight this war on terror so long as India keeps distracting us and doesn't help us in managing the extremist constituency, which is the Taliban, the good Taliban from the bad Taliban, and our jihadi groups. They have to be managed, and they can be managed if there's a give on Kashmir. They can be managed, the army and the ISI can be managed if Baluchistan is admitted. So, you know, it's constantly like this baby who everybody has to look after.
And in the Pakistani offensive, the Americans are even now complaining that the Pakistanis are targeting the anti-Pakistan extremists, but not the Afghan Taliban, who, of course, the Americans would like the Pakistanis to take on.
Yes, I think they're all playing the same games. They are not taking on the Afghan Talibs. You find that when Hillary Clinton came here, I mean, right from the moment she landed or even before she landed, in all various interviews and speeches and all that she's given over here, interactions, the questions were constantly on terrorism. I don't think there was even one, I went through every word, there was not even one statement where she mentioned the Taliban along with the Lashkar-e-Taiba.
No.
She never mentioned the Pakistani groups operating in India. So they're all playing different games. They're all playing different, strange kind of games in which I think the basically broad understanding has completely escaped the Americans. They're handling it like they handled Iraq.
But India seems to be the one country which is not playing to its own interests.
Yes, I mean, judging from the joint statement, judging from the flip-flop in policy, judging from the inability to carve out a coherent policy on Pakistan. See, there are certain realities in India. You have a right-wing lobby, you have a peace lobby, you have others. You have to work out a policy which doesn't offend anybody to the point where they get into a position to block the peace process. And you've done exactly that with this kind of a flip-flop statement which you got out from Sharm El Sheikh. So I think the Prime Minister is, people say he's intelligent, I don't think he's stupid too. And if he's bright and if he's slightly intelligent, then one can only say that there is some other agenda behind this rather than the interests of India.
And how do you see the joint statement and its follow-up playing out in India?
Look at the backing off now. Now you have the Congress president coming in, and then you have this huge meeting happening, and now the Congress has decided, no, we are going to back the government and we are going to push it through, which anybody could have told them right from the beginning, because Rahul Gandhi was on board throughout. He was invited for the various lunches, etc., etc.
Although what that means, I suppose coming weeks will tell us.